They told you to be patient. They told you to communicate better, to set boundaries with love, to explain your feelings calmly, to try harder. You followed every piece of advice. You read the books, you had the conversations, you gave them more chances than you can count. And what did you get in return? The same cold stare, the same dismissal, the same invisible wall that no amount of effort, kindness, or understanding could ever break through. Here is what no one is willing to say out loud. Everything you were told to do was wrong. Not because you did it badly, but because it was never going to work. Not with them. Not with this kind of person, because the narcissist does not operate on the same psychological rules as the rest of us. And until you understand exactly how their mind works, not on the surface, not the version they perform for the world, but the raw, hidden machinery underneath, you will keep trying strategies designed for a person who does not exist. This is not a video about how to fix them. It is not a video about how to love them better. It is about one thing only. The single shift, the only shift that will ever make a narcissist respect you. And by the time we are finished, you are going to understand not just what that shift is, but why it is the only thing that has ever had a chance of working. But to get there, we have to start at the beginning. We have to go back to the moment before you knew what you were dealing with, back to when it all felt like the most extraordinary thing that had ever happened to you. When they first entered your life, it did not feel dangerous. It felt like relief, like finally, like someone had arrived who truly saw you, all of you, and chose you anyway. They moved fast. They were intense. They said things people do not usually say till months or years into knowing someone. They made you feel extraordinary, chosen, like you had been discovered by someone rare enough to recognize your value. You were not falling in love so much as you were being pulled into a gravitational field so powerful you did not even notice.
They saw what you offered, your warmth, your empathy, your loyalty, your status, your beauty, your resources, and they attached themselves to those qualities the way a parasite attaches to a host. They were not seeing you, they were seeing what you could do for them. And the performance of adoration they put on in those early days was not love, it was acquisition. This is the first truth you have to absorb before anything else can make sense. You were never disrespected because you did something wrong. You were never disrespected because you were not enough. You were set up from the very first moment by someone who was never capable of offering you the thing they so brilliantly convinced you they were offering. The respect was always a mask, and masks, no matter how beautiful, always slip. Because here is what nobody tells you about the beginning, that golden, intoxicating beginning that you have probably spent years trying to get back to. It was not a preview of what the relationship could be. It was bait. It was designed to be irresistible so that when it disappeared, you would spend everything you had trying to get it back. Your confusion, your grief, your endless attempts to fix things, all of that was built into the structure of what they created at the start. The trap was set before you ever walked into the room. So when the warmth disappeared, when the admiration curdled into criticism, when the attention became withdrawal, when the person who made you feel like the center of the universe began treating you like an inconvenience, your instinct was to look at yourself. What did I do wrong? How can I fix this? How do I get back to how things were? And that instinct, that desperate inward search for the fault, was exactly what they needed from you. Because as long as you were focused on fixing yourself, you were not looking at them. And as long as you were not looking at them, clearly, they remain in control.
A voice, your voice saying one thing with absolute clarity. Enough. That moment is not the end. It is the beginning of the only thing that has ever worked. What happens in that moment is not a decision so much as a return to yourself, to the part of you that existed before they arrived and began the slow work of convincing you that your perceptions were unreliable, your needs were excessive, your worth was conditional, and your reality required their approval to be valid. The part of you they needed to dismantle in order to maintain control That part did not disappear. It went quiet. It learned to wait. It learned to wait. And it has been waiting through every argument and every silent treatment and every silent treatment and every cycle of cruelty followed by just enough warmth to keep you in place for exactly this moment. Psychologists call what you rebuild in this moment self-concept clarity, the degree to which you have a stable, consistent, clearly defined sense of who you are. Research shows consistently that people with high self-concept clarity are dramatically less susceptible to manipulation, less destabilized by external criticism, and far more capable of making decisions that align with their actual values rather than their fear. It is not arrogance. It is not arrogancy. It is simply knowing yourself well enough that another person's version of you cannot overwrite your own. The narcissist spent the entire relationship attacking your self-concept clarity. Every time they rewrote history, they were blurring your sense of what was real. Every time they responded to your emotions with contempt, they were teaching you that your inner experience was not trustworthy.
But because this is where the deepest self-knowledge is required, the knowledge that what they are offering in that moment is not a return to something real. It is the most sophisticated manipulation they possess, the one that uses your own love, your own hope, your own profound human need for the story to make sense against you. Seeing it clearly does not mean becoming hard. It means becoming wise. It means honoring your grief without letting it make your decisions. It means being able to say quietly and without performance, "I remember what that felt like, and I also know what came after, and I choose myself." That choice made not once, but every time it is required, is the full expression of everything we have covered. It is the internal shift made permanent. It is the boundary made consistent. It is the self-concept clarity held steady under the most sophisticated pressure they can apply. And it is ultimately the only thing that forces a narcissist to reckon with you as someone they cannot consume. The real victory over a narcissist is not the moment they finally respect you, though the shift does come. It is the moment you realize that their respect is no longer the point, that you have rebuilt something inside of yourself so solid and so genuinely your own that whether they see your value or not has stopped being the question you need answered. You know your value. You live from it. You make decisions from it. You choose people from it. Their failure to recognize it is not a verdict on you. It is simply the final, clearest piece of information you needed about them. You did not lose yourself in this relationship. You were temporarily buried. And everything you have done, every painful moment of clarity, every boundary held in trembling hands, every choice made from self-knowledge instead of fear was the excavation. You were always under there. You are back now. And the version of you that emerges from this is not smaller than who you were before. It is incomparably stronger, incomparably clearer, incomparably more capable of choosing and building and protecting the life and the love you have always deserved. That is not the end of your story. It is the first page of the real one.